Republicans like Louisiana's Clay Higgins regularly weaponize words like righteousness and law and order to suggest that they're on some sort of moral crusade against evil Democrats and immigrants and trans people, really any group that they disagree with or don't think deserve the same rights as quote-unquote real Americans.
Governors, I guess thank you for being here today. This was staged to be it was bound to be, political conflict here. But I like to get pretty real with each of you. I know Governor Walz pretty good. He and I came to be, believe it or not, America, Governor Walz and I came to be quite friendly. I consider him a friend for many years. And it was fascinating that we disagreed on almost everything politically. I doubt there was a vote we had in common. But I'm pretty sure I could call Governor Walz and get a straight answer, even now, at least in private. But in a setting like this, it's difficult to get a straight answer because you're being viewed so closely. All of us are. So I'm going to try and be real with you. And Governor Pritzker, I don't know you. Governor Hochul, I don't know you. I can tell you that you strike me as extremely political, rather arrogant, quite smug, good lady. And this is a serious topic, man. We have hundreds of thousands of Americans dead from fentanyl that came across our border. Our nation suffered generational trauma for 4 years from open border policies. And we listened in ad nauseum, speech after speech after speech about how Mayorkas, who struck me as equally smug in many horrific meetings, said we need more money, we need more laws. We never needed more money, we never needed more laws. We needed an executive branch that had the will to enforce the law and thus end the trauma that the American people were continually suffering at our southern border. Now, the impact of that policy remains, and sanctuary cities are a large part of this thing. Now, I don't know the life of you three, your background. I don't know if you've held the hand of a mother or father had to deliver to them the news that their child had been killed by a violent criminal. Prayed with that person, but I have. And the victims of crime commonly have a simple refrain. Why? Why? Why did this happen to my family? And I'm going to ask you, Governor Pritzker, and you, Governor Hochul, what do you say to those people when, have you ever had the courage to speak with one in person, in private, without cameras, and when they ask you why was this horrible person invited to Illinois or New York? Why do your sanctuary policies encourage, why did this guy that killed my daughter, why was he in my state? Why?
Representative.
Don't tell me it's limited resources.
Representative.
Don't tell me it's limited resources. I'll let you know when it's time for you to answer the question, madam.
Okay.
Don't tell me it's limited resources, because we're talking about the resource of righteousness and goodness. And God controls the bank of righteousness and goodness. And there's no limit to that withdrawal.
This photo was taken after the guy whose hand Higgins is holding, his friend Leon Boudreau, was convicted of incest after a teenage relative accused him of sexually assaulting her between the ages of 14 and 18. For Clay Higgins to pretend that he cares about the victims of crime is insulting.
This hearing is an utter and complete waste of your time. It is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Republicans have called you here alleging that you are circumventing federal law. You are not. But you know who is the poster child, who is violating federal law daily? the current occupant of the Oval Office, Donald J. Trump. To make matters worse, these hardworking governors had to leave their states to be here in a moment when their work is incredibly difficult. Because Donald J. Trump and his accomplices and co-conspirators, who, by the way, Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about your constituents, and he doesn't give a damn about you. He doesn't even respect the seat you hold in Congress as a co-equal branch of government. But Donald Trump and his accomplices, many of whom are in this room, are hell-bent. What you want your legacy to be is that you're tearing food away from our babies and medical care from our elders. These Democratic governors have to stand in the gap and figure out how to stretch budgets and modify programs to keep their constituents fed and alive. Constituents like this precious little soul that I wish I didn't have to leave to come be here. Layla, who drew me this rainbow. A 5-year-old who lives with a rare liver disease, had a successful liver transplant at Boston Medical Center. Thank God. She is thriving today. But Layla will need immunosuppressant drugs for the rest of her life that are paid for by Medicaid. And without Medicaid, well, I shudder to think what might happen to Layla. But for sure, a family will at least go bankrupt trying to do everything to keep their baby alive. That's what these governors, that's the situation that they've been put in because you're a big ass ugly bill. And if it comes to pass. And they're dealing with the fallout of this White House pulling federal grants recklessly. Grown men throwing temper tantrums. So again, let me be plain. The Trump administration is breaking the law, not these Democratic governors. Ms. Perryman, how many legal challenges is the Trump administration currently facing?
I believe there's over 300 right now.
And Ms. Perryman, can you explain how litigation like this has helped to shield and defend vulnerable communities?
Absolutely. Without our courts upholding the rule of law and upholding the rights of people, right now there could be federal funds frozen across the country that would endanger things like Head Start and Meals on Wheels and community safety programs, including community safety programs that help prosecutors and help law enforcement in states and communities across the country. The administration has terminated over $800 million in Office of Justice program grants that we are having to challenge in court, and the list goes on and on and on.
Thank you, Ms. Perryman. Thank you for your good work. That's right, in case after case, the media might not want you to know, but we are winning. Trump tried to end birthright citizenship, blocked. He tried to shut down asylum, blocked. He tried to defund cities, blocked. And because we are winning in court, Republicans are trying to change the rules to rig the system. Tucked in the big ugly bill the Republicans voted for is a provision, Section 70302, titled Restriction on Enforcement, that would restrict the judiciary from enforcing court orders and holding government officials accountable. This is an intentional and deliberate attempt to undermine the courts so that the Trump administration can break the law with impunity. Republicans, Ms. Perryman, pretend to care about law and order, but this provision is the exact opposite. What message does this send to people who count on the courts to protect their rights?
It suggests that the people that voted for the bill don't want the American people protected and that they don't want them to access their courts and access the ability to protect their rights.
Don't want the American people protected, that part. Allegedly all in the name of law and order and safety. This is about nothing but power and control and abuse of power and terror, which makes everyone less safe. The shame and the sham of it all. I yield back.
It's sick to hear people like Clay Higgins justifying their racism, their xenophobia, and their absolute idolatrous worship of Donald Trump using Christianity of all things. To claim that disappearing immigrants without due process, cutting literally millions of people's health care, and stealing people's social security just so that you can give billionaires tax cuts is righteous shows just how delusional the Republican Party truly is. Do these people really think they're the good guys? Peter Thiel is surveilling the planet and manipulating democracies through his company that is literally called Palantir. He's Sauron in his own fantasy. They dress and act like cartoon villains so unbelievably cruel that it's hard to believe they're not just playing a part for the cameras. But whether they're legitimately this evil or hamming it up for fun, that doesn't really matter. What matters is the immeasurable harm they're already doing to this country. It is so important that we don't let these people tell us who to hate. You'll note that villains rarely fight each other.